Nigeria's inflation rate increased in June to 22.79% from the previous month's figure of 22.41%. Now, that's according to the National Bureau of Statistics. The inflation rate rose to a new 17-year high and for the sixth consecutive month. The report also showed that food inflation spiked to 25.25% on a year-on-year basis. The year-on-year basis rate showed a 4.19% higher compared to the 18.60% rate recorded in June 2022. Now, analysts had projected that the country's headline inflation would see a jump due to the fuel subsidy removal and recent Naira devaluation. We have renowned economist Paul Alaje joining us to help us understand exactly what this is all about. Can these figures from the NBS be said to be reliable?
Welcome to this nice Paul.
Yes, of course, I was going to do that. Welcome back.
Thank you so
And you've been
much.
on holiday. I mean, all you guys going on holiday this year, I think we need a break soon.
I remember you had yours.
Welcome. So, how reliable? These figures from the NBS, from 22.41% to only 22.79%.
Well, it's a surprise to many, to both international and local organizations. We're wondering why inflation only grew marginally, and that's not even the surprise. Core inflation shows that there was a decline, which is laughable to a large extent. So we've seen an increase in food inflation, but core inflation is reporting something different. This is not the first time National Bureau of Statistics will publish a figure and come back to say, oh, sorry, there is need for adjustment somewhere. Because the figure we see at best is worrisome. And, you know, there are a number of things we can query. Of course, if you ask us to explain why that is possible, we could give some explanations. We can tell you that, yes, the inflation figure still shows that inflation is growing at an increasing rate, but the marginal rate of increase is what is worrying everybody. You cannot say that you have 22.41% and now 22.79% between May and June. Subsidy has been removed already, which means people need to spend more. More money needs to chase goods and so on and so forth. That said, government has also announced a unification of FX. Technically speaking, Naira has been devalued. And since Naira has been devalued, we never knew the price to be what it used to be, both in parallel market and official window. Last month, it was over 700 at parallel market. Today, it's over 800. Official window before unification was 461. Today, it's nearly 800. It closed about 803 at any window. So there is a lot of concerns as to where is this number coming from. So for the month of June, I can tell you that there are, you know, as authorities, National Bureau of Statistics, we either need to look at the methodology that is currently using to carry out CPI, which is Consumer Price Index.
I was even coming there.
Yeah, because you cannot say that you are looking at Consumer Price Index and you are looking at about 400 and something commodity. People are consuming a wide range of other things, which the National Bureau of Statistics we need to take cognizance of. That said, on the other hand, we also need to look, what is the sample size? Economics and statistics says that the closer to your population, that's the target number, the accurate your estimate it will be. So what number, when you look at the methodology, the number NBS is using is a far cry from 220 million people. So, and this is when they submit report, people give report feedback. This is what we saw last month. This is what we are selling now. They look at all of those things. So we are not capturing enough in the basket of commodity. That is why people seems to have a number of doubt this time on this figure. And I must also tell you that another concern people have is what number. Many people have said, we have been seeing this number you people have been talking about on television, but nobody has ever come to my house to ask me what I'm going through. Nobody has ever come to my shop or come to my place of work. So I'm just wondering how you people getting this thing. Because people's personal inflation is not corroborating with what
these figures.
With the figures
that
government is talking about.
Paul, you see, I like to domesticate issues like this because whoever is watching is not really bothered about the figures, to be honest. What they are bothered about is how it affects them, the impact on them. You talked about the Consumer Price Index, the CPI. The bottom line is the standard of living of the average Nigerian. What it means is 3 meals in a day comes to 2 meals or 1 meal, and then they do 101 or 001. How can the average Nigerian find a way around this such that the standard of living does not degenerate totally?
Further.
Well, I doubt if the standard of living has not already generated, because if your salary was 250,000 in 1st of January, announced, now you've been given an employment letter maybe in December the previous 2021, you resume work and you're 250,000 naira a month. That for you is, oh, that's fair enough. But by December this year, that same amount will now be lower than 100,000 naira. Don't trust me. The National Bureau of Statistics says so. It's a figure that is released from National Bureau of Statistics. I say inflation average about 20%, 20% of 250 million. Even when you take flat rate, what you have now will be, by December this year, will be approximately 100,000. You will still be earning 250,000, but what the money can buy will only be
100,000
of 2021 250,000. So that's how it's affecting you. So it's an invisible force that is stealing from you. That is why we need to identify the thief properly. We need to identify what rates is this impacting us.
So help
very
us
correctly.
understand the thief. Who is dipping their hands in my pocket?
Or what?
Or what?
Yes, it's, it's called inflation. Inflation is an invisible force. So when you look at it, when government says subsidy is gone, you now need to spend, depending on which class you belong to. If you're part of the rich, then 15% of your income will go on extra cost of fuel. From my estimates, from survey we carried out. But if you're in the middle class, you will need to spend between 25 to 40% of your income extra, apart from what you spend before, the leftover. But if you're part of the poor, that's where you spend over 60% of your income. Unfortunately, the rich are not in the majority. The middle class are not in the majority.
Do we
see
still have middle
if
class?
they exist at all.
Oh,
But you know, when we use income distribution to classify people, people are earning less than 50,000 today. They're in the minority. They are found in 89 million people as at December 2022. And World Bank said 4 million people have added to the number by the end of May, when President Buhari was handing over to the new president. And also projected 7.1 million people may join if government don't take substantive, meaningful, significant decision regarding ameliorating the impact
So what decisions
of subsidy
now?
removal.
What
7.1
decisions
million
now?
is a lot.
What decisions?
Yeah,
going
I
to be
differ a
taken?
bit
This
with World
government
Bank.
has
Yeah.
come up with palliative measures, 8,000 to each
I
family,
differ
12
to a large
million.
extent. I differ
Right.
to a large extent with World Bank on what decision World Bank think government should take. One of the decisions World Bank said government should take is to share money to the people. This policy was practiced in Indonesia, it failed. It was practiced in China, it failed. It was practiced in India, it failed. It was practiced even in Argentina, it failed. Some of the countries that were once in our category came out of economic quagmire, not by sharing people, by sharing money. President Buhari made poverty at over 60 million people, left it at over 90 million people. And 133 million are now living in multidimensional poverty. No thanks to policies that were implemented. Now, what should we be doing? We should look at what is the cause of inflation. We are seeing food inflation. Can we provide sufficient security and design a program where we allow people to go to farm and use supply side approach to solve inflation, rather than raising NPR that central bank and monetary policy committee have been doing?
Simplify that supply side.
Supply side means that why are things expensive? We don't have enough of them, or we don't even have them at all in our country. So if we have enough supply of Gari in the market, and how do we have enough supply of Gari? We look at zones, areas where Gari is produced, and allow, instead of saying people should use self-help or individual effort, we have a lot of persons who would work, who would have gone to farm, most of which are now in IDP camps because of insecurity. If you can bring them back to camp, create a community of some sort, and you have core members who are ready-made agents of government. Part-time, we use them for election, we use them for census. Why can't we permanently deploy them on organized plantations? Please underline plantation, not farms. What that means is from year in, year out, we'll be having farm output that we can now take to the market. And recall in economics, basic economics, when supply outweighs demand, what will happen to price? Price will go up. So the way price will come down is not by saying we are raising interest rate. When you raise interest rates, you are going to send signal to private sector to pay more. When they say they cannot afford it, what happens? Unemployment. That is why Nigeria, we have beyond inflation problem. We have stagflation, which is a fella popular musician call it suffering and smiling in its own way.
Now, Paul, in your opinion, what you're saying is the palliatives that the president is bringing is like kicking the can down the road. It's not a permanent solution.
Yeah, what I'm
suggesting
saying,
agriculture, back to the plantations and all that. So what other measures can we use to expand the middle class?
Well, what I'm saying is, that's the condition World Bank has given to Nigeria before money is released. When you look at it, stated what government must do. So it's better than nothing. But is that the best solution? The answer is no.
That is like kicking the can down the road. So
yeah,
what
because we are still
suggest?
going to meet it. So first is agriculture. Then you see, our economy is like this. We are importing so much. Naira is getting devalued because we don't have alternative. Therefore, to have alternative is important for us to produce as a country. When I say production, it's not going to come from importing or just having a few things. What I mean by that will be that we need energy sector to function. I mean power, electricity, so that private sector, those in manufacturing, can produce some of the things that we consume and we can. And you see, to actually bring down food inflation, what is one of the key driver of inflation. You recall that I said in that report, Brussels say core inflation reduced. Meanwhile, food inflation increased to about 25%. What must we do to even reduce food inflation? Apart from providing security, supporting farmers for supply side window, another key factor that was even identified by the same World Bank, you know, that have been advising us to do this, but it's not providing enough solution in that regard, is how do we ensure that food gets to the urban center, rural area, and our cities on time without having transfer of cost of transportation on it. And I've suggested that government should target food production zones and link our rail line, our rail track, either narrow gauge or standard gauge, to those areas. So if government can provide security, we go back to security, because we saw what happened between Abuja and Kaduna. We saw what happened, kidnapping that happened in Edo State, I think last year, when people were in the train station waiting for their train, they were kidnapping their number. Thank God for the railway police, and I think commissioner of police in Edo State that rescued everybody alive. What do we do such that when these enemies of our country are coming, we are able to predict their movement, and we put confidence in our people? The real challenge here is confidence in the currency we have. Most people believe that the value of that currency will go down in a matter of time. So many more things I think government can do, and I hope that in due course they will take some of these things and implement them, so that Nigeria can be a country we cannot be proud of.
Absolutely. Paul Alaje, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.